All right, welcome on into the podcast. I'm Brett.
I am Dorian.
And we are in our Thursday Throwback Bourne Ultimatum edition.
Yep.
Last in the series, and then we're going to be heading into a different direction.
So, the series that matter here.
Sorry, yes, because there is a Jeremy Renner, was that Bourne Legacy or something like that?
I think it was, yeah.
Which takes place, I think, during one of the other Bourne movies.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Identity, I can't remember. And then Jason Bourne.
But we don't talk about those.
No, we're not going to talk about those. What was your first time / first impression watching this movie?
So, my first impression, I would say, I think I was in high school when I first watched a little bit of Ultimatum, just because I heard good things about it, and I didn't see any of the previous movies. I'm like, oh, I'll just, watch it, give it a shot, or at least watch a little bit of it here.
Yeah.
And I don't remember really getting into it all that much, just because it was I just didn't really understand what was going on or the story. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should probably watch this when I actually know the whole story. But I do remember liking the action scenes quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I think I'm in the same boat. I probably saw this in the theaters. Actually, fairly certain I saw this in the theaters.
Yeah.
I think with my brother. I don't really remember. But yeah, I remember automatically liking it better than Supremacy.
Yeah.
So.
No. So how has the rewatch? Has the rewatch changed how you feel about this movie at all?
Like I said, with kind of even the other two movies, I think it's just we're in a different time now.
Yeah.
They've aged well.
Yeah.
Really well. But I think just being so saturated in a market that's just crazy action.
Yeah.
You kind of are
you're a little turned off by it in terms of
yeah, but it might not be a bad thing to be, there's not enough action in this. And then maybe once I go to John Wick, there's too much stuff going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really liked the pacing of this movie. I thought it was really well done. But I still like this movie a lot. So yeah. I don't think it's changed too much.
Yeah, like I said, the first time I watched this, I was in high school. I was kind of watching it casually, wasn't really paying attention, and wasn't really taking the time to sit down and enjoy this movie. And now that I've watched, the first two movies in the series, no, I actually feel like I can actually appreciate this movie for what it is here. And now that I have the full story on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk characters.
Okay.
Now, we're not going to go through every character again. I would say Jason Bourne.
Pretty much the same as he was in the second movie. I would say this is
his final form.
Yeah, this is his final form.
Yeah.
Here, yes.
He's constantly ahead of the curve. He's 2 steps ahead of the CIA.
Yeah.
Which is scary from a CIA perspective.
Oh yeah.
Crap, this trained killer is ahead of us. He's playing us.
Well, especially when you're the CIA, you are supposed to be the boogeyman. There's not supposed to be anything scarier than you here, or anything that you don't know.
Yeah, and I think that we see a very unequipped Jason Bourne in the first movie. I don't think he's any different than obviously the third movie. He just has way more information now in the third movie than he did in the first movie, so he's able to be ahead of them that far.
No, absolutely.
So we're kind of introduced to this reporter at the beginning who talks about Blackbriar, which had been mentioned in the Bourne Identity.
Right, which we finally get actual continuation of that idea, because we really didn't touch on it in Supremacy. It was just kind of dealing with the falling pieces from Treadstone here for the most part.
Yeah, which Blackbriar is basically Treadstone 2.0.
Pretty much.
It's no different. They're still assets. They're killers and ran by some old white dude.
Pretty much, yeah.
Call a spade a spade.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah. So we get this reporter, which I'm blanking on his name right now. I think it's Simon, I want to say.
Yeah,
Simon something.
I can't.
Anyway, I have code names for all of them because I call him reporter dude.
Yeah.
So he works for
a publication company or something.
He works for a newspaper essentially.
Yeah.
And so he uses ancient technology like voice recorders.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember This movie was supposed to take place, I think, in the early 2000s, late 90s, probably.
Well, I think it's 3 years after Bourne Identity.
No, I know. I know the movie comes out.
No, I'm talking about.
Yeah, totally. 3 years total that he's been in this situation. I just don't know when it's actually supposed to take place.
Probably, yeah, like
because they had like cell phones and stuff.
Early to mid 2000s is probably accurate.
But anyway, so he somehow knows Bourne. Like he has information on him.
Yeah.
And he knows about Blackbriar.
Yeah.
And so Blackbriar is an interesting thing because he literally says it. Now, this is the question that I want to ask, you know.
Yeah.
So he says it over a phone. He says the word Blackbriar.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, boom, the CIA.
They get a hit.
They're trying to track down how does he know this Blackbriar? Like, so is there, or do you think that there are actually words out there that the CIA is constantly tracking?
Like in real life?
Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you. I mean, if, who knows?
Like if you say like fart storm 6 and then like, you know, like all of a sudden, you know, you're getting tracked. Like you're like,
that you get pinged and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they run
I'm sure there's something out there
they run a federal background check on you in like 5 minutes and stuff.
Here's the deal. I mean, our phones are constantly listening to us. Constantly.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like it's been scary. After watching this movie, I've been more paranoid.
Like, did you go and buy a bunch of burner phones?
No, I should though. I should just get pay to go or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But no. Like, have you ever like been talking about something and then you'll see an ad for it?
Not so much talking, but obviously when.
Oh, see, I've been talking about it and it's popped up on my phone.
Yeah, I haven't been talking.
Or I'm getting an email about it. Yeah. That's another weird thing.
Right. Well, I mean, I live alone, so I don't really talk about stuff by myself. Otherwise, I might be schizophrenic. But
or I mean, mentioning it to someone in conversation, you know, at work or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, not so much talking, but it'll be like if I look up something on like Google or something like that, you know, just in the search.
Oh yeah, because of the cookies.
Yeah, because of the cookies. Well, and then I'll see and then I go on to Facebook and then I'll see something open up in Facebook saying like, oh, hey, you know, you might want to look at this one thing that you may or may not have been searching for here or something along those lines.
It's very odd that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff happens. So, he's kind of the first character. We'll talk about more of him later when we talk about the boss fights, I guess, because this movie does kind of go back to a boss fight formula.
A little bit,
cool.
Yeah.
Also reminiscent of like the omni-boss fight in the second movie, where it's like he's the boss at the beginning, and then you have another boss. Same boss comes back at the end.
Yeah.
Here, I'm going to try to pull up the IMDb page for Bourne Ultimatum, because I don't want to give you guys the code words that I use for them. I want to give you their actual names for continuity purposes. Like if you're actually going in and watch this, and you're like,
actually trying to follow along.
Yeah, who's old white number 1?
Yeah,
because I have all the old white guys that work for the CIA. There's so many of them.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out like, okay, which guy is that Brett's talking about here? But yeah.
So. This is gonna be a tough one. So Simon Ross is the reporter.
Okay.
So reporter dude Simon Ross. So old white number 1. Okay. So this guy is the one that runs Blackbriar, similar to his name Collins, the one Conklin from the first movie. Really similar role.
Yeah.
Just like
I feel like he's dirtier than Conklin.
Oh, way dirtier, and I believe his name is. It's so hard to tell. They're all old white people. Hang on, I'm trying to pull up this guy. No, it's not. It's not Scott Glenn. Let's see. I don't know what his name is. This is weird.
But essentially the Blackbriar director for the most part here.
Oh, maybe it's Noah.
Yeah, I think
Noah Vossen.
Yeah, I think that is
Noah Vossen. Yeah,
okay.
So his character's name's Noah Vossen.
Mm-hmm.
He runs Blackbriar. So he's the one that orchestrates like all the different hits.
Yeah.
And this guy does not like Jason Bourne at all.
No, not at all.
He and even Nikki, like he has a run in with Nikki, and that's a conversation later. But
yeah.
Basically,
but
he just doesn't care. Like, he was the one who orders a hit.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it in the scenes later, but
no, he orders hits without hesitation.
yeah, like he's like, we don't need to, like, the reason that organizations like Blackbriar exist is like, we don't need to ask permission. We just go do stuff, basically.
Pretty
is what
much,
his philosophy is.
Yeah.
Which Pam Landy does not like. Pam's back, which is cool because she's actually, I think, a more likable character in this movie.
No, and I think she's also
She's not corrupt.
Well, and also, I mean, like, we kind of talked about like how in the first movie, like, Marie is not a great character, and there's not really like really well written female characters. I think Pam is the exception on this one. She's actually pretty intelligent. She knows, she's quick on the draw. She knows how to figure things out fairly quickly. So yeah, no, I think she's a pretty good character.
Yeah. That's it. So then I have Old White number 2, which is Simon's informant. His name's Neil Daniels.
Is that the guy who's no, that's the guy that
that's the guy that so he's the one that meets with
the
reporter
yeah.
in the diner.
Yeah.
Who works for the CIA.
Mm-hmm. Gives them the information on Blackbriar and also on
basically
Jason
he's the
Bourne.
leak, and Noah's basically trying to take him out. Like, they're trying to find the leak. How does this reporter know the information? They think it's actually Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
Turns out it's not. They activate an asset, which turns into a whole thing.
Yep.
Old White number 3, aka Super Old White, in charge of Old White number 1.
Now, is that are you talking about the guy who plays Stick in Daredevil?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So he is played by Scott Glenn. His name is Ezra Kramer. And so Ezra, he's not in the movie a whole lot.
No, and I was kind of surprised. I thought he was actually going to be the big bad at the end of this movie.
I mean, essentially he was, because he had oversight over Blackbriar, and he did get put in jail. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But I mean, I was kind of surprised, like, yeah, he didn't really like serve like that big of a role in this movie.
Other than there was someone that
was pulling the strings higher up here. Yeah.
Which is always the case.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, and then there's Ultra Old White.
Yeah.
Okay, Ultra Old White is the doctor at like the training, or the guy at the training facility.
Yeah, the guy that
I don't know if there was a name for him.
I don't quite remember either, to be honest with you, but he's the one who initially adopted Jason Bourne into the program.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have your 2 assets in the movie, and then some little mini bosses, basically. That,
yep.
Whatever. There's nothing to really go into detail about. The only other person, so there's recurring characters that come back. So obviously you have Jason Bourne.
Yep.
Obviously you have Pam Landy.
Yep.
And Nikki, and I'm kind of like,
yeah,
Nikki didn't really even need to be here, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to that in a little later, but it's. I do have opinions on like what Nikki's role in these movies has actually been here.
I think the character development is definitely lacking in this movie, because you just get new characters basically thrown at you out of nowhere.
Pretty much.
I think it would have been better if, like, what's his name from the last movie?
Carl Urban, or
no, not Urban, but like the white dude, the old white from that movie.
Oh, Abbott.
Yeah, Abbott. If Abbott would have gotten away with it and like led into the next movie, maybe he didn't kill himself, and maybe in this one he killed himself or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, it's kind of interesting because I mean, like, these movies, like before I really sat down and watched all of them, I kind of thought like all the storylines were like completely connected. Like Abbott was like going to be the main bad guy for the whole time and stuff like that.
That would have been probably better.
Probably, but it's kind of interesting because a lot of these movies kind of tackle, or like, yeah, pretty much all these movies have like their own individual storyline that's not necessarily like super connected or interwoven into like one big plot or one big conspiracy per se. Here, it's like it is plots and conspiracy, but it's more along the lines of like individual plots and conspiracies, or you're just dissecting one aspect or one layer of that.
Right. Yeah. And I would say like this movie does a lot of recapping in it, to where if you only watch this movie, I think it would still make sense.
To a certain
except
degree.
for you wouldn't know Jason's motivation as much.
Correct. Yes. And yeah, I mean, even like Jason Bourne is like in this movie. I mean, you get a little bit of like seeing more of him and just kind of like his moral code that he's developed. Like, he's
not murdering.
no,
He's only killing in self-defense.
right. And I mean, he has that one exchange with that one guy that he let live in the vehicle chase.
Yeah.
And he's like, like, why did you do it? It's like, don't let him.
Oh yeah, he's like, do you see what we've become?
Yeah,
you see
like,
what they've turned us into?
Yeah, how much more are they going to take away from us here or something like that? Yeah.
So basically, you're expendable. You're just fodder for whatever purpose that the government seems to use you for.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which I'm sure there's programs like that in the government.
It wouldn't surprise me.
No,
honestly.
I'm almost certain there has to be. But so let's talk about some off the chain scenes.
Yep.
We're back to boss fight formula, kind of. So
kinda. I mean, it's
we have like a mini boss fight in that apartment, which is kind of a cool scene that we could talk about later.
With the two guys here, basically.
Yeah, and he has like a fan, and he basically just takes him down pretty easily. It's a cool scene. It's like the first action scene of the movie, I would say. Like, I have to sneeze. Hold on. Maybe I don't. Okay. I'm back. So let's talk about the first boss fight, though, which is not really so much a boss fight as a boss entering.
It's an escort mission. Let's just
pretty much. So, which is cool because we have not really gotten that except for in the first movie when he's kind of navigating with Marie.
Yeah, exactly.
So we basically have a sniper situation.
Yeah.
So keep feeling like I'm gonna sneeze. So yeah, we're in Waterloo Station, right? Mm-hmm. So Bourne has been in contact with Simon, the reporter.
Yeah.
And he's kind of navigating from afar, like, hey, there's people after you. I'm going to try to get you to safety. You need to listen to what I say.
Yeah. Which, I mean, really cool scene in all honesty, just because it really shows Bourne's, him being like, 2 steps ahead, his ingenuity, all this stuff here, like just little things like him getting a prepaid phone, setting it up, and then essentially reverse pickpocketing it into the reporter. That way he can call him on that phone that's not being, currently listened on and all that. And then he sends him on a wild goose chase with saying like, hey, go do this thing next to this dude in the hoodie and all that. And then
because I want to see what they're gonna do, and then they see that they knock him out, take him out.
Well, right. Well,
bag and tag him.
Well, and also it was, I think, just kind of a bait and switch, trying to say like, okay, we're gonna send them out on a goose chase, and it's also gonna show me where your guys are at and all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
it definitely shows you how smart Bourne really is, and
yeah.
So basically, what it comes down to is Bourne's been kind of watching from the shadows and fighting guys in the background to keep this guy safe.
Yeah, it's like, okay, just like go, pretend you're tying your shoe right now in this crowd of people
like
here.
Down to like the second. And he's like, all right, go.
Yeah, like, okay, wait until this camera moves into this position.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, no.
So definitely a scene we're checking out. But basically what it comes down to is the guy, breaks rule number 1, which is you listen to the guy that's
trying to keep you alive,
and he doesn't, and so he gets sniped. He ends up dead.
Well, yeah. Well, a couple of times too. It's like he got super panicky and paranoid.
Yeah, which I would be too, dude.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like that garbage man, like coming up to him, and he's like, "Oh no, he's got a gun. He's gonna pull something." He's like, "No, dude, you're fine. Just let alone." And then he just freaks out.
Yeah. So basically, after that happens, Bourne's trying to figure out where this guy is, and basically, the guy gets away from Bourne. Mm-hmm. He gets on a train, and he sees who it is, but then the same guy, who they basically get into like, we'll talk about it a little bit later, I guess, but he comes back later.
Yeah, but yeah. By the way, dope sniper shot here. Just going through like the
changing
advertisement panels and all that. Yeah, dope sniper shot.
So yeah, I guess we could just talk about it because I didn't really elaborate on it later. But Bourne ends up getting into it with this guy again, similar to the Russian guy in Bourne Supremacy scene. Like they're in this car chase.
Yeah,
Bourne, excuse me, steals a cop car.
Yep.
And
on that note, Bourne really, really, really knows how to pick like the most durable vehicles just based on
Always,
glance.
always.
Because that car gets like destroyed like multiple times. And
So yeah, and basically the same thing happens where Bourne makes this guy crash, and it looks like he's not dead. Like he just kind of leaves him and he doesn't kill him, and the guy kind of takes note of that. And so later on, he sees Bourne and he doesn't.
He's like,
well, he has Bourne cornered at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And doesn't he puts his gun away?
Yeah.
You know, so
lets him go
after that whole exchange. But yeah, so that was like the first boss scene / last boss scene. So there's like a middle boss scene where he's definitely more of the hand-to-hand combat guy. He's not a sniper.
Yeah.
That we know of. He makes explosives like bombs. So this guy killed Old White number 2.
Yeah.
The informant that was meeting with the reporter.
Yeah. Which, I mean, in pretty spectacular fashion here too, because like,
oh yeah,
he just
set it up perfectly.
Well, yeah, no, he just has a backpack. It looks like he's tailing the informant here, but really he's just getting out ahead of him, planting the backpack that has a bomb in it down, and then using it to like just line it up perfectly to blow up the informant, basically.
Yeah, so what happens is Jason's kind of trailing him, knows he has a bomb, sees that he drops the bag, tries to stop the car, and then sees his Vespa, which is actually the bomb.
Yeah.
And he blows it up, kills the informant. Then Bourne goes on this kind of like chase scene, basically.
Yeah.
Where he steals a motorcycle and goes after this guy, which sick scene when he's riding on that motorcycle.
No, very sick scene, yeah.
Then there's this rooftop chase scene, which is very reminiscent of Aladdin.
Yeah.
My wife is the one that said that during the movie. She's like, "This reminds me of Aladdin." I'm like, "You're not wrong at all."
If this doesn't already exist, I feel like we need to like get the song playing that.
Oh yeah,
plays there and then. Like what's it called? One Step Ahead.
One Step Ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, da, 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 da. Yeah. So yeah, it's really cool seeing Jason jump through all those windows and like run through apartments and stuff.
Speaking of which, by any chance, have you seen a little bit of the behind the scenes on like that one jump that he does to like get into the apartment and start fighting the asset? So,
or if I have, it's been a long time.
So, like what they actually did for that is like, the one that's kind of slows down a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Is it the one where he actually goes in and breaks the glass to fight?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They had like a cameraman wired up and jump off.
That's sick.
Jump off the roof with the stunt double here.
Oh my gosh.
That's
crazy.
Yeah, it's super crazy. It's awesome.
So yeah, super cool scene. He's jumping through all these different windows at different levels. Trying to track down boss number 2 because he's now going after Nikki.
Yeah.
He figures out that Nikki's in cahoots with
Bourne.
Jason Bourne.
Yep.
Because basically they're trying to set this asset up to work for them, and then he ends up getting a text that's saying, "Kill these 2 people that you just met with.
Yeah.
One of them after you kill the informant."
Yep.
And so, so then basically a fight happens in the scene, and Jason Bourne uses his famous book to hit this guy in the throat a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And then Nikki kind of intervenes when Bourne's kind of pinned against a wall.
Yeah.
So my question is, does Bourne lose if Nikki doesn't intervene?
I mean,
and is that her? That's like, if that's her only contribution, then cool.
Yeah.
Because it saved Jason.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously like the way it's written. Yeah, it seems that way, to be honest here. Or I don't know if that was just something that they're like, okay, we can't just have Nikki standing around doing nothing while this whole thing is playing out here. So maybe,
especially she's probably had some kind of field training, like basic.
Maybe. I mean, hard to say, but regardless, it's like one of those things where it's just like, okay, maybe he might have lost, maybe he didn't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that's just, I don't think the writers are really thinking like, okay, this guy is much more better than Bourne, so we need to have somebody come in and like assist him in fighting this this one dude. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
then we kind of continue some cool scenes where after that fight, Bourne kind of goes back to form of Bourne Supremacy, where he does his kind of recon, I guess, where he's
stalking
Pam
and then Noah at the same time, and then basically drops a line that he said in Bourne. He's like, "Get some rest, Pam. You look tired," or something like that.
Yeah, which he knows that Noah's listening to him at that point. So they're kind of speaking in code, like letting Pam know, obviously, and Noah know that he's close.
Yeah.
But then Pam kind of speaks code to him again. He gives him his name, which I already knew his name.
Yeah.
David Webb. And then gives him a false birth date, which is actually directions to somewhere.
Yeah.
And it sparks a memory in Jason's head. It was 4/15/71, which he wasn't born then.
Yeah.
And so he uses this. So then they go, oh, he's going to go to this place. And so Noah sends a whole team of people out.
Yeah.
And Pam as well leaves. And then as they sneak out, Bourne sneaks in and steals all these files, like all these like really sensitive files out of his safe.
Yeah.
As he's on the phone with Noah.
Yeah.
Which was so cool.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, no, for sure. So...
But yeah, he steals everything he needs to incriminate all the old whites. Literally all the old whites in this movie.
Pretty much, yeah. Yep. And then like also just the ending scene.
Yeah, super cool.
I would say there's a lot of callbacks in this movie. You have Nikki changing her hair like Marie did in the first one.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. If you're a girl, you change and cut your hair, you dye it. But if you're a guy, you don't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll get into that in just a second.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, Jason has that conversation with boss number one on the roof because he's cornered kind of.
Yeah.
And there's water below, and he does not pull the trigger. The boss number two, he lets him go after he has that conversation. Jason then, at the same time, Noah comes out and shoots at him. Jason Bourne falls. You think he could be dead. Yeah,
we don't know whether or not he got shot, and for a while, like what's going on is like they're playing like, you know, kind of like the aftermath of what happens, like concurrently with him floating in the water, just like he did in the first movie. And yeah, basically it's only till like pretty much the last shot, it's revealed that like he comes conscious or becomes conscious and then swims away. Yeah.
And Pam at the same time is faxing all those incriminating files to somebody.
Yeah, somebody that she can trust.
And then she walks past Noah and was like, I hope you have a really good lawyer.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. Overall, pretty good movie.
Yeah. So let's get into like things that we liked specifically. I mean, we probably already covered a good bulk of what that is with the off the chain scenes and all that, but let's get into more specifics. Why don't you start us off here?
Yeah, so the action starts right away.
Yeah.
I mean, at least engaging material starts right away.
I would definitely say this is a much quicker pace than the last movie.
Yeah. I love that bosses are back. Mm-hmm. You get those boss fights, and then I really like Pam in this movie. I think her character is really dope.
No, I think Pam definitely had a good role to play in this movie, and I think they did her right here. I think she was written well, and they gave her stuff to do.
And I do like all the callbacks, kind of like you were saying. I like how they... You know, he had Nikki changes her hair. She knows to do that. I don't know if Jason told her to do that, but
yeah,
you know, kind of a lot of callbacks to that. And then also you get, for whatever reason, there's that conversation. I don't know if you remember it, but where Jason has with Marie's brother randomly.
Oh
in
yeah,
the movie,
yeah,
and she's like, she's dead.
Yeah.
And I'm like. In my head, I was like, well, is this supposed to be the same guy from the Bourne Identity, or is this someone completely different?
Okay, so that was one thing I had in the Bourne Identity is like that guy that they end up staying the night with here and like, you know, taking shelter with. It's like, I never really understood like what was the relationship with that guy because he's got a British accent for one here. I don't think him and Marie are related here. I thought.
Well, she has stepbrothers, so I figured he could be one of her stepbrothers.
Okay, yeah, but. Yeah, no, that's interesting.
Or like, I don't know. Yeah, like who was he? That's where more I start thinking down those lines now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense for I'm blanking on the actor's name, but he plays Frederick Zoller in Inglourious Bastards, and then Baron Zemo and Captain America, and also in the Falcon Winter Soldier show.
I can't remember his name. Yeah,
I can't remember his name, but I know him, and Yeah, so I mean, it makes more sense for him to be Marie's brother just because he's German, as far as I understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure who that dude was or who this other guy's supposed to be or if we're supposed to care at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we never see him again. So
I think it's just Jason kind of dealing with obviously his past. So
yeah, I guess so. Well, I mean, that whole scene I felt like was just more of a way, not really a way to like actually, meant to like be like a scene that makes sense per se. I think it was more or less kind of like something to kind of explain like Jason's motivation or like what he's planning on doing here for the most part here.
I mean, it's interesting because there's characters in this, and this is something I didn't know, and I don't know where I thought it or if it was something that was just me thinking like Nikki is his wife or was his wife, but obviously they were romantically involved. We get a scene in this movie where it alludes to that. Now, apparently Nikki's character was made for the movies. It's not in the books, but I think there's a character similar to him. I think I was getting mixed up with that.
Right.
But, I like having Nikki as kind of someone who's been consistent in the movies because other than Bourne, there really isn't anyone who has been. Pam's been in the last two.
I mean, yeah, I mean it's kind of been like they shuffle their cast around because I mean obviously Conklin was in flashbacks and Supremacy, and then Abbott was a big part of Supremacy as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean by and large, Nikki and Jason are pretty much like the only two characters that have really been consistent across like all movies for the most part.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, that's kind of what I mean. I liked a lot of stuff in this movie. The espionage, the pacing was really, really good. Way better than Supremacy.
Yeah.
I don't think this. I'll talk about that in final thoughts.
Okay, fair enough.
Wait. Yeah.
So, I mean, the things that I liked about this movie, I mean, we kind of pretty much all the off the chain scenes that we previously mentioned. But, I really like to see Jason Bourne, like we mentioned earlier. He's in his final form. He's better than ever. He's sharper. He's smarter. He's faster, stronger. All these things. Like he's top tier. Like cream of the crop right now.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you really get to see his level of intelligence and ingenuity, like luring Noah and all the CIA guys out of the office so he can like get the print, hack the safe, and then steal all the files here. And then also when he takes out those guys in the apartment building, the two guys with the fan and the flashlight, and then
that was cool. Yeah,
that was cool. But after that, like when Nikki says like you got about 3 minutes, and then he gets on the phone and he calls like 911 for whatever it is in that country here. I think they're in Madrid. I think
so. Yeah.
Yeah. So he calls them up and says like, there's a bunch of Americans with guns,
and he shoots it to kind of
to like kind of sell the story more. Mm-hmm. And so then when the backup shows up with armed to the teeth, the police show up and think that these are the guys that we're talking about. We're going to arrest them here, and then just slips right away here. Yep. So yeah, really, really smart plays on his part here. He's got the big brain on him on this go big around. Time. But yeah, I mean he's just one step ahead out of everybody. Heck, maybe even 2 steps here, just because he's really like playing 4D chess with everybody. Like even just like things like saying like, hey, we're gonna get this guy to be activated so he can go try to kill the informant, and then we're gonna tail him to the informant.
Yeah, It was just pretty cool how thought out all that was.
Yeah. So, but so flipping it around here. What did we not like in this movie here?
I still don't get kind of the Nikki role, I guess, fully. Like, if it was more fleshed out, it would have made more sense.
Right.
As far as the romantic thing between them.
Yeah.
That was in the past. Other than that, I mean, there's a little bit of stuff that maybe doesn't hold up, like I said, kind of to like a John Wick type of movie that's current.
Where it's more saturated with action than,
Correct.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, there's really nothing that I didn't like about the movie.
Fair enough. I mean, a couple of things I got on here. I mean, so a lot of the action has a lot of quick cuts in it. I mean, that part hasn't like really held up like super well, but it's not enough to really drag it down.
No.
It's kind of just like a very minor criticism.
I mean, it's
here.
a 15-year-old movie.
Well, yeah, I mean that was kind of the thing back then. Here is like
Big time. The quick cuts, action scenes.
Exactly. And like you said, like they really don't explain like why Nikki is even a part of these movies here, to be honest here, because I mean, I understand like her role in Identity, like it made sense, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then like, when Supremacy came around, I was like, oh, okay, they're keeping her around and introducing her because it's going to be revealed that in the third movie, she's used to be his wife here and he just doesn't remember. And then
it alludes to something like that,
but, well, right. And that's the thing is like when they have that scene in the diner, she's like, you really don't remember, do you? It's like, okay, well, can you at least explain me why this lady is like kind of a significant part of these movies for the, past 3 movies or something like that? I mean, because I don't know, as far as I can tell, she just seems like she's just there for plot convenience for the most part here.
Right.
But, so in this movie, the whole idea of Jason Bourne being a rogue agent has gone public. There are wanted posters around. He's reading about himself in the newspaper. All this stuff does nothing to change his appearance, get a tan, get a face tattoo, shave his head, grow a beard. Like, I don't know, like does legitimately nothing to change his appearance. But yet any lady that he's with, he's like, yeah, you got to change up like right now. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Final thoughts, I guess.
So, I think this movie is the best one in the series here. I think, it delivers up on the action that I wanted to see, but I didn't get in Supremacy.
Right.
This feels like more like a true sequel to Bourne Identity, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I honestly think they probably should have just ended the series with this movie. Like, don't do like Legacy or even Jason Bourne. I mean, even though, yes, it's a kind of a cliffhanger ending, I really like how they kind of tied it back to like the beginning shot of the movie. And then, you begin the series this way and then you end the series this way. I think is kind of a cool idea. And then, and if you were to ask me, do I want another Bourne movie today? I'd say no, just based on like the quality of the last 2 that we got. But I do want there to be like a spiritual successor. And I know that the James Bond and the John Wick movies have kind of carried that mantle here. But I think there's room to like do something more similar to this, where it's espionage and just kind of realistic, action and all that stuff here. But,
yeah, totally. Yeah, for me too. I would say this is definitely up there with Identity for me. Mm-hmm. I would say that I like Identity the most, and then this movie, and then Supremacy. Yeah, still, super solid movie. I really agree with you. I think that this either deserves a reboot or some kind of spiritual successor. Yeah. Now I don't know if reboot's the right term, but there's so many books. There's like 12 books in this series.
That is true.
To where they could just follow Jason Bourne but recast him. Yeah. I don't know, Chris Hemsworth, whatever, whoever you want. I mean, I really liked Chris Hemsworth in Extraction. The movie was okay, but I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, I still haven't watched that movie. I need to check that out.
Or it's someone else. I mean, I don't care who it is, but I think this movie eventually will probably be remade. I think Matt Damon nails everything about it, though.
I think if you're going to remake it, I think probably best way to go about it, make it like a TV show with a decent budget.
That could work.
I think you can use a lot more materials that you did with the books and all that, and explore some things that the movie didn't cover and all that. I mean, obviously, movies and TV, 2 different mediums. You kind of go about it in different ways. So I think that's one way you can kind of breathe some fresh life into it, instead of like, being like, oh, this is just cash grab central we're going for right here,
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, totally. Well, I think that's it. Yep. This is definitely a series worth checking out, in my opinion. I don't know about yours.
No, I would definitely say so. I mean, if you're looking for a spy espionage thriller, I mean, it's hard to beat Bourne. In
Yeah.
all honesty, I mean, and again, it's like I said in the when we were talking about Identity. This is a good movie for like the layman here in terms of like, it does a pretty good job of explaining things and like how things are operating. You don't have to like have like a really in-depth knowledge of like how agencies work or how government officials act or respond to certain things here. You can kind of pick up on a lot of this stuff and just enjoy it here.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. Thanks for listening. We greatly appreciate it. Stay tuned for our next, I guess, Throwback Thursday.
Yep.
Which we're going to be doing something completely different than we've done before.
Yep.
Our first series, actually.
First series.
But you'll have to stay tuned. Look at our social media for what that's going to be. We'll post something in the next week or so about that. Remember to leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. It greatly helps us out. And just have an awesome week. Remember, everyone's nerd about something.
Yeah.